Okay, it is Friday, November 8th, and here are the 10 best bets to college basketball, again, on this Friday slate. I'm pissed off. Again, we had a bad day yesterday. I'm not going to mince words here. It wasn't great, but guys, we now have a banned list of teams I refuse to bet on. If you watched our NBA video from earlier today, well, go check that video out. Link is in the description down below. It's posted an hour before this one, and daily here on the channel, we are gonna have NBA predictions at 9 a.m. On the Pacific, or on the West Coast, and noon on the East Coast, obviously, and then 1 p.m. Eastern, and at 10 a.m. Pacific, we will have our college basketball predictions like the one you are watching. But we have a banned list now, guys, through all sports. I don't know if you can read this because my handwriting isn't great, and I don't know if this is, is this going to be the right way? Yeah, it is. Okay. Regardless, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. If you watch the NBA videos, you know why. Louisiana Tech football. If you watch the college football videos, you know why. And now I'm adding my two basketball teams, USD, because it was atrocious a couple nights ago. And now Jacksonville State. Guys, Jacksonville State had two 11-0 runs in their game yesterday against Air Force, and they still lost. Banned. And you know, Cal Poly's lucky that happened last night, because if it wasn't for Jacksonville State, Cal Poly would have been banned. Yesterday was an odd day, man. Yesterday was a really odd day. Shout out to the Latvian monster, though, Williamson. Bucknell came through. Shout out to, again, our Latvian guy in Williamson. I mean, that was the only one we got yesterday, but he was dominant. So here's what I'm proposing. We're going to do 10 games today, 10 best bets because of, yesterday's monstrosity. Let's get back on the winning track. I've got 10 games. I've been cracking the research. Don't believe me? It's 2:42 in the morning. Yep, it's 2:42 in the morning, and I've been sitting here, and I've been trying to find 10 best bets. I hope we found them, guys. I hope we did. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for daily college basketball predictions here on the channel. Again, it just helps out the channel a lot if you hit that subscribe button down below and leave a like. We are, as I'm recording this, 650 subscribers away from 20,000. So let's make that happen. And also, folks, go make sure to check out our NBA predictions posted an hour previous to this, our college football predictions, our NFL predictions, and our UFC Magny versus Prates predictions. Again, all those links are in the description down below. Let's get it going. We start things off with our first game of the day. We gotta get the energy building. We just gotta get, again, just for our system, we gotta get a game going to get the blood pumping. Cal State Fullerton versus Stanford. We're going with Cal State Fullerton to cover the 13.5 points. Okay, I am getting PTSD from when we picked Cal Poly to cover against Cal, two California schools. Obviously, one of them being an ACC school and Cal, now Stanford, and you get a school in the Big West, this one being Cal State Fullerton or Cal Poly. Now, in Cal State Fullerton's loss to a very decent Grand Canyon University team, they stayed in the ball game. They didn't win it, but they were competitive. They were only down by 2 going into the second half. They lost the game by 10 points. I think that's encouraging. I think Grand Canyon would have a chance to beat Stanford. Stanford's not very good. They're not. They beat Denver, who actually wasn't a horrible team last season in the Summit League. But I'm still not sold on Stanford until Stanford, completely dominates this season. I don't think they're able to cover this 13.5 points against Cal State Fullerton. I mean, they added the former Duke product in Jalen Blakes. He put up 12 points and 6 assists in that game against Denver for Stanford. Now, Blakes was never, a prominent figure for the Duke Blue Devils, but he's on the team now. And they got Ozziah Sellers, who led their team in points against Denver, scored 24. Sellers, again, he was a USC guy, if I'm not mistaken, last season. Yes, he was. Averaged 5 points a game last year, but now obviously going to get an increased role with Stanford. I'm willing to think that Cal State Fullerton's able to stay competitive in this basketball game. I think so. Guys, they got 17 points in their last game out of Caleb Brown off the bench, the junior out of Huntsville, Alabama. This is a guy who didn't play for Mizzou his first 3 seasons over there. Hit the portal, came to Cal State Fullerton, and here he is producing off the bench. You got Donovan O'Day, who is their starting, I believe he's a point guard, played at Cal State Fullerton last season, averaged 7 points a game. He led their starters with 12 points in that GCU game. I think Cal State Fullerton's able to cover here. Stanford's not going to have a home court advantage. Nobody goes to the games at the Maples Pavilion in Stanford. Trust me, I live 20 minutes away from the campus. Give me Cal State Fullerton to cover the 13.5 points. I think it's too much. Stanford will win, but they will win by about 10. Cal State Fullerton will cover. They will get our get back for the Big West, because of the Cal Poly loss yesterday at Haas against Cal. Okay, that's our first of the video. Let's get on to our next one. We go to Monmouth versus Temple. Now, it might be somewhat of an outlandish pick here, but we're going with the Temple Owls. They're coming off an 81-70 victory against Sacred Heart. They were led by a 26-point performance at Jamal Mashburn Jr. Mashburn, was a UNM player last season and was a very productive starter for New Mexico 3 straight seasons in a row. Started in Minnesota, went to UNM, averaged 18 one year, 19 then 14. He is now a senior, and he will be leading this Temple team into battle against Monmouth, and I'd expect him to have a huge night. Monmouth is coming off a loss to Michigan State. Again, don't really know how to value that, considering, again, Michigan State, a Big Ten school, and Monmouth obviously going into East Lansing is not expected to win that basketball game. But what we can look at Monmouth from last season, they were an 18-15 team. They lost to Charleston in the CAA Conference Championship game, conference tournament. They got to the semifinals. This is a team that didn't play that horribly in the non-conference schedule last season. They beat West Virginia, which is surprising, but it's a much different team now that Monmouth has. Their leading scorer last season in Xander Rice has graduated, and I just don't think they're as good. Abdi Bashir Jr. is going to be their leader. Obviously, he scored 20 points in that game against Michigan State, but he shot 30% from the field. He literally just put up a million shots in that game and somehow landed with that point total. I think Temple's the better team. Again, Jamal Mashburn is a 3-year starter coming in from New Mexico. He is now getting a chance to lead this Temple team, and the only reason Monmouth is getting the respect that they are getting in this game, the only reason they are favorites to win this game, is because they are at home. It's the only reason. I like Temple to go in there and win this basketball game. They looked good in their win over Sacred Heart, and I get it, Sacred Heart, but I think Temple's getting a little mispriced here. Now, yesterday I said that Jacksonville State was mispriced against Air Force, and they were, because they should have won that game. It was absolutely atrocious. Regardless, I'm not still mad at that, right? I mean, ban list, right? Ban list. Temple, don't make me add you to the ban list. Taking the Owls to go on the road and beat Monmouth, and they will cover. Well, they're underdogs. So, yeah, give me Temple at plus money. I like the value here. Again, I like what Mashburn did in the opener. You had Steve Settle with 16 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists for Temple as well. I just think they're the better team compared to them in Monmouth. I get the games on the road, but I think Temple is able to go out there and win this basketball game over in Trenton, New Jersey. We go on to our next game here, and this is the biggest one of the slate, obviously. I mean, this is the marquee game in college basketball. I mean, sure, Duke's playing in Durham at home against Army. You've got, Ole Miss on the schedule, Purdue, Cincinnati. There are big-time teams that are playing Texas, Bama, A&M, but no, this is the big game in Lawrence. You've got Kansas hosting UNC. I like North Carolina to cover here. I do. I know they only beat Elon by 14 points, but RJ Davis, obviously the leader of this UNC team, and I'd expect North Carolina to have a pretty good night. I don't even know if they're going to win this game, and I don't think they are. I'm actually picking Kansas to win the game, obviously led by the former South Dakota State Jackrabbit. On the channel, we love South Dakota State. They're led by Zeke Mayo. Hunter Dickinson obviously is back for another season here at Kansas. And they're a good team, I'm not going to lie. Kansas is much improved from last year. I mean, obviously, I hope they're better. They're more improved from last year as well. They have AJ Storr now as well, the former Wisconsin Badgers on this team. They really improved in the offseason, obviously, with the portal. And again, the addition of Zeke Mayo is a big one. Pair him as well with Hunter Dickinson. This is a good Kansas team. Again, they should not disappoint come March this season like they did last year. But my personal opinion, I think 7.5 points is too much. Again, I think Kansas wins the game, but I just think North Carolina is able to stay competitive. They have too many guys who I think can score and keep them competitive, and obviously they are led by RJ Davis. North Carolina was the better team last season. Now, again, I understand that does not mean jack going into this game, but it's fun that we get this ACC versus Big 12 matchup. I think these two teams are very close. Again, you got Kansas, who's ranked number 1 right now. You got North Carolina, who's ranked number 9. Again, preseason rankings, in all fairness, don't really matter. They just don't. They don't. We're going to find out how good both these teams truly are. I think RJ Davis is able to keep this team in the game. We'll see. Again, Zeke Mayo's second game as a Kansas Jayhawk. We'll see how he performs. He had a big game in their opener. But again, Kansas was playing Howard, and I get it. UNC was playing Elon. We really don't know what to make out of both these teams. Kansas is a huge game in the next one on Tuesday against Michigan State. That's a big one. They've got Duke coming up, obviously, later in the month as well. North Carolina. I mean, these are two powerhouses in terms of the college basketball ranks. I think UNC is able to stay in this game. They have a huge game coming up next month against Alabama. But give me the Tar Heels to go in there and cover the spread. I think these two teams are too evenly matched. I get the games in Kansas, but I think UNC stays in it. However, obviously, we're going with Kansas to win the basketball game, but I think the North Carolina Tar Heels stay in it, and they will cover the 7.5 points. So obviously, that's the biggest game of the video, but we go from this to Bowling Green. Yes, we go from Kansas UNC to Davidson versus Bowling Green. And guys, we like the home team here at plus money. I get it. Bowling Green is coming off a loss to Southern Miss, and it wasn't a great loss. They lost the game by 9 points. You know, they got production out of Derek Butler, who dropped 17 in that game, as well as Trey Thomas, who scored 17. Obviously, again, they really struggled to find any production elsewhere. They had 6 bench points the entire game. One of their starters didn't even score in 32 minutes. I get he's their center, but still, Southern Miss was able to win that game. Bowling Green now will get Davidson. Perfect buy low spot for Bowling Green of all teams. I get it. We're trying to find spots where we think the Bowling Green Falcons can go out and win a game. I think it's a great opportunity for them. Davidson wasn't the best team last season. I get it. They're in the A10. They struggled. That's, there's real no shame in that, obviously, comparing them to a MAC team. This is a value play, guys. This is all this is. This is a value play. I personally like the 4.5, the plus 4.5 a lot more than just taking Bowling Green to straight up win the game. But if you got balls, then, go and just take Bowling Green to straight up win the basketball game. I might do it, but I like the spread a lot here in this game. Again, Davidson's coming off their first win where they just beat up on William Peace. I didn't know that was a school, I'll be honest with you. Connor Kuchera led their team in points. He's their shooting guard, I believe. Scored 19 in that game against Bowling Green. This is a guy that averaged 13 points a game last year for Davidson. He's a former William and Mary product. I think Bowling Green's able to stay in this game. Again, we'll see what production they get out their bench. Really, they don't play too many guys off their bench meaningful minutes, but they fell behind early in that game against USM on the road. They returned home for this game. Again, they returned home. They just got off to a pretty bad start in the Southern Miss game. In the second half, they stayed competitive with Southern Miss. Again, they technically won the second half, even though they ended up losing the game by 9 points. They won the second half by a point. Again, I think as long as Bowling Green doesn't fall behind early, I think they should be fine. Again, it's a home spot for them, and it's a perfect buy low spot, too, for Bowling Green. It's a value play, but I like the plus 4.5 as well. Give me the Bowling Green Falcons to win at home against Davidson. I think they're able to get it done. Next up, we move on to Central Florida, who looked great in their opener a couple nights ago. UCF, should be on the cusp of the rankings at this point, and they are going to host the Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons in this game. But UCF, a huge victory in their opener over the number 13th ranked Texas A&M Aggies. A&M went on the road and lost, and UCF won the game by 3 points, and it was off the backs of a 24-point performance for their point guard in Darius Johnson. Johnson has been with UCF his entire career, scored 24 and led their team in points. I think Tuesday, right? Yeah, against A&M. Great victory for UCF. Now this is where they smash Purdue Fort Wayne. Purdue Fort Wayne's coming off a win over Bluffton, guys. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know Bluffton was a school. Just gonna be honest. Purdue Fort Wayne did exactly what they needed to do against Bluffton. Bluffton played. No, wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They played 19 players. I assume this is a D2 school. Bluffton has to be. They played 19 guys against Purdue Fort Wayne. They lost the game 47-99. But no way. This is a serious basketball team. Hold on. They gotta be D. Are they D3? Because hell, we had the Mississippi education school of women or whatever play Mississippi Valley State yesterday. Actually, what happened in that game? I don't know until now. I mean, I assume Mississippi Valley State did win. Shout out to them. They already have more wins at this point of the season than they did last year, like in the first 2 months. Regardless, Bluffton, I mean, I'm looking at Bluffton basketball and I'm finding a high school team in Indiana right now. I assume they're D2. Regardless, Purdue Fort Wayne beat up on them. Great. I mean, no one player stood out for the Mastodons in that game, but their starters really didn't have to play that much, obviously, because they were always in control. Guys, UCF looked great in the A&M game. I might be buying too much into the hype right now, but I just don't think 10.5 points is enough. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's enough points. A&M looked great in UCF looked great in their game against A&M. Look what the Mastodons did last season. I mean, they were in the CIT. They made it to the CIT championship where they lost to Norfolk State. They went 21-12 last season. Weren't a bad team. Really weren't. They're in the Horizon League. They used to be in the Summit. Now they're in the Horizon League. I think UCF's able to dominate this game. And if you want to look at like Purdue's non-conference last year, they didn't play all that badly, but when they did take on one of the power teams, or the two power teams that they played San Francisco. They lost by 16 points, and they lost to Pitt by 14 points. I'd expect UCF to dominate this basketball game. Again, they are riding their high of beating Texas A&M. They are not going to let this go to waste by losing to Purdue Fort Wayne. They are going to dominate the Mastodons in this game. Give me UCF and Darius Johnson to absolutely control this one. I like the Knights to win this one and improve to 2-0 after a huge victory against a ranked team. They come back home to Orlando at Edition Financial Arena, I do believe it's called. I just know that because professional wrestling, or AEW, uses that arena all the time. Give me UCF to win the game against Purdue Fort Wayne and cover the 10.5 points as well. We now move on to Duquesne versus Princeton. Yes, I mean, we're just getting all facets of basketball in this one. We are going with Princeton to win this one. They're getting 4.5 points. I'm fine with this. I really am. I'm perfectly fine with this game and Princeton here. Is this a neutral site, if I'm not mistaken? I think it is. Hold on. I believe this is going to be a neutral site game. Yeah, it is, because Duquesne's in Pittsburgh. This one's in New Jersey. Oh, similar to the one earlier in the game. Yeah, wait, Monmouth isn't in New Jersey, is it not? Wait, hold on. Yeah, Monmouth is in... Oh, no, Monmouth is in New Jersey, but it's not in Trenton. Okay, regardless. Neutral site game. That's why I like Princeton even more. Okay, I like this. I'll be honest with you. I thought this game was at Duquesne. I still like Princeton. It's a neutral site. I feel even better about Princeton picking up the victory. Guys, Princeton was a great basketball team last year. They really were, all right? They were very good, and they just ran into Brown in the conference tournament in the first round and lost. And I get it, the Ivy League tournament's 4 teams. They played a tough Brown team. They were 12-2 in conference, but they ended up losing to Brown 90-81. They were 24-3 going into that game. They were the number 1 seed, obviously, in the Ivy League tournament. They ended up going to the NIT, and they lost in the first round to UNLV. But Princeton is back. They return Caden Pierce, who was one of their leading scorers last season. They won their first game against Iona in a very close game, 81-80, led by the 27-point performance out of Xavier Lee, the junior, out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Again, he's a guy that's been at Princeton all 3 years of his college basketball career. Now they get Duquesne, a team that lost to Lipscomb 77-72 in their opener. It was a 16-point performance by Trey Dinkins. He is a senior for this Duquesne team. Last season played at Canisius College. I'm gonna be honest with you, another school that I just forgot existed. But Duquesne was a squad last season, right? I mean, they made the NCAA tournament. They beat BYU in the first round, which was confusing, and they ended up losing to Illinois. It is what it is. Duquesne, again, they had their little run last season. They were very good in that A-10 tournament, obviously, that they ended up winning. They beat St. Louis. They beat Dayton. They beat St. Bonaventure. They beat VCU. I mean, they were a huge underdog team that just kept on winning last year. They had to win 4 times in their conference tournament to end up making the national championship itself. But I just think Princeton's the better team. Again, Princeton had a great season last season, and that's just the unfortunate side of them playing in the Ivy League and them not playing the best non-conference schedule. You slip up and lose one game in a 4-team tournament against a good team, and you're done. That's what happened to Princeton last year, and obviously they were a one and done in the NIT as well. I like Princeton to win this game. They've returned most of their main guys, unlike Duquesne. I think Princeton got better in the offseason. I don't think Duquesne's as good as they were last year. Again, it's going to be tough to top that Duquesne team last year, obviously, because of all the success they had in the A-10 tournament and whatnot. So that's why I'm going with Princeton to win this game. I think they're the better team. I think they are able to outscore Duquesne, and this one's a neutral site game as well. I like the Princeton Tigers to go out here and win this basketball game, and I think Princeton will cover the 4.5 points as well. Next up, we move on to Tempe. And no, this is not college football, so I cannot make my statement that I make all the time when I pick Arizona State games in college football on the road, or at least in Tempe, Arizona. Ranked teams go to die in Tempe. It does not apply here. It's college basketball, different conditions. Obviously, everyone plays in a gym. You've got Santa Clara, the Santa Clara Broncos, going on the road to take on the Arizona State Sun Devils. And actually, this game is at a neutral site as well. This is in Henderson, Nevada. So regardless, this is not a Tucson game. Guys, I like Santa Clara. Neutral site game. Santa Clara is the better team. I was very impressed with their performance over St. Louis. I really was. Guys, Santa Clara has a legitimate chance to win the West Coast Conference this season. Santa Clara is going to be a team I hype up a lot this season, and for good reason, guys. Adama Ball's a monster. 24 points in that game against St. Louis. Took him a little bit to get going as well, but when Adama Ball wants to take over this game, the Frenchman is an absolute unit. I like the Santa Clara team a lot. They're able to score. They're able to, again, push the ball down the court. They get great bench minutes, and I was really impressed watching their game against St. Louis by Cameron Tongue, who dropped 18 points in that game. He's been at Santa Clara's entire collegiate career. Last year, though, struggled to get minutes and only put up 4 points a game. If they can get that production out the senior off the bench, that's a huge deal. And for Arizona, they beat Idaho State. Now, normally you'd think, oh, they beat Idaho State by 7 points. This Arizona State team's not very good. I don't know what to make of that. Maybe Idaho State's not that bad this season, considering they just played USC down to the wire yesterday. So, again, I don't know how good either of these teams are, and Idaho State played somewhat of a low scoring. It wasn't that low scoring as this game was, obviously, with Arizona State, but they played a defensive matchup or a defensive game against USC. Arizona State, they shot 36% from the field in this game and won the game by 7 points against an Idaho State team that shot the ball from a 25% rate from the field. That's concerning. You know why? Because Santa Clara is going to score, and Arizona State will just not be able to keep up. That is the main thing I have for you in this game. Santa Clara is going to score, and they're going to score at will. I just don't think Arizona State's going to be able to match that. That's why we are going with the Santa Clara Broncos. We successfully picked them on opening night to go out and beat St. Louis in that neutral site game in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I'm picking them in another neutral site game. I think they go to Henderson, Nevada, and I think they beat the Arizona State Sun Devils. They're the better team. I just don't think Arizona State's offense is as good, obviously, as Santa Clara, and I just don't think Arizona State's defense is able to stop anything that the Broncos are going to throw back at them. We are going to be riding with Adama Ball all season long. The Broncos, they're a sneaky, no, they're not even a sneaky team to win the West Coast Conference anymore. They are the number one contender, I would say, to Gonzaga to win the West Coast Conference this season. I've watched how USF has played this season. Maybe St. Mary's, obviously, but I think Santa Clara's got a legitimate chance to win the conference this year. We're taking Santa Clara to go to that neutral site game in Henderson and cover and beat the Arizona State Sun Devils. Next up, we go to San Jose State. We successfully picked against San Jose State earlier on in the season. We took them in a matchup against West Illinois. West Illinois was getting 8.5 points on the road, and I told you how bad San Jose State is. So now this is why I'm imploring you to pick San Jose State in this game. Why? Because they are playing one of the worst Division I basketball teams in the country. We are looking at the Pacific Tigers. I don't know how this team beat California last season. You can disregard that. This team took Mississippi Valley State to overtime. They won, but Pacific's horrible. This team is not good, okay? They beat Jesup University in their first game. I didn't know Jesup University had a basketball team, okay? Guys, the moment I realized that Pacific was one of the worst teams in college basketball was their conference tournament game last year against Pepperdine. That game started, I kid you not, I think 24-0. Pepperdine, I can check right now. Regardless, the first half total in that game was Pepperdine 56 points, Pacific 9. They haven't improved that much. I get it, San Jose State isn't very good, but they are much better than Pacific. This line is just horrible because San Jose State didn't beat West Illinois. And simply put, they just couldn't score against the West Illinois Leathernecks. I understand it. That's fine. West Illinois then went to Pepperdine and lost the game by 13 points in the second, part of their road trip. It's fine. I think San Jose State's in a really good spot to win this game just because of how horrible Pacific is. They're led by the point guard, Will McClendon, the former UCLA product, obviously now playing for San Jose State by way of Sacramento, California. Again, Pacific's just absolutely atrocious at basketball. They're absolutely horrible. The game is in a neutral site, I do believe, right? This one's not in San Jose, it's in Hawaii. I don't care. I just don't. San Jose State's still the better team. It's really not. Also, San Jose State gets no home court advantage either because nobody goes to their games. Trust me. I'm right here. Nobody goes to those games. I will go to a San Jose State basketball game at some point in the season. Trust me, I will. And I will show you firsthand how empty it probably is. I feel great about San Jose State in this spot here. I think they're going to cover the 3.5 easily. Don't care that the game's in a neutral site. Pacific's just absolutely horrible at basketball. San Jose State's not good, and we're going to, again, trust me, we are going to be, as the season goes on, I'm probably going to pick a lot of just, games from the West Coast just because I'm more familiar with these schools, I'll be honest with you, because I just live around the area, so I have a better read on a lot of these teams. Trust me, we are going to be fading San Jose State a lot. But in this game, no. Pacific's just that bad. San Jose State wins this game. Again, this is going to be the difference from a school in the Mountain West and, not even that. It's just San Jose State's not a good Mountain West school, but this is the difference between a bad Mountain West school and a god-awful West Coast school. But it's like Pacific's in their own league of bad in the West Coast Conference. San Jose State wins this game. They will dominate. 3.5 is nowhere near enough points. San Jose State wins. Don't take it to the bank because of, but give me San Jose State. Next up, we go to Loyola Marymount hosting UC Irvine. Guys, we like the Anteaters here. We like Irvine to go on the road and win this game. I like Irvine a lot. I really do. Last season, this was a very solid team. They ended up losing to Long Beach State in the first round of their conference tournament last season. It is what it is. Irvine was a good team in the regular season last year. They went to the NIT. They lost a game on the road to Utah. But again, Irvine was one of the best teams last season in the Big West Conference. They now get Loyola Marymount, a team that was, kind of piss poor last year in the West Coast. Again, another one of these schools that just wasn't good in the West Coast Conference. I remember watching them play Portland a couple times, and they lost both of them. I think I bet on Loyola Marymount, if I'm not mistaken, in one of those games. I think I bet on them in I think it was the conference tournament game. I think it was. It was one of the two. No, it might have been the game at Portland. I don't remember. I remember I was sitting in the Seattle airport watching Loyola Marymount and Portland. And I was just sitting there. I was sitting at the Seattle airport. I was sitting there eating pho. And it was, it's airport food. So, the bowl of pho is $25 per person. I'm just sitting there eating, and I'm watching just my money drain away as Portland's beating Loyola Marymount. So now this is a haunting experience for me because of what happened last March. Okay, it sticks with me. So that's why we're picking the UC Irvine Anteaters, because again, I get PTSD from Loyola Marymount. All right, I don't know why I went on that little tangent. But regardless, I think Irvine's the way better team. I really think they are. Again, this was a team that was really good last season. Yeah, they just screwed up in the Big West tournament, losing their first game to Long Beach. This is an NIT school. Again, they lost to Utah regardless. They look good in their first game of the season. They beat Chapman. I understand Chapman is nowhere near the competition of, Irvine, obviously. Chapman played literally 20 guys in that game. Irvine really didn't get great production out of anyone except for Bent Luton, who put up 19 points in that game in victory. Luton's been with Irvine his entire collegiate career. I'd expect Irvine to win this game. They're on the road at Loyola Marymount, but I just think Irvine's the way better school. Loyola Marymount's a team that really struggled last season in the West Coast Conference. Their only wins in the West Coast Conference were against Pacific, Shocker, Pepperdine, and Portland, and USD. But I mean, hey, ban list, USD. Trust me, I'll make an actual graphic or actually print out a paper with logos so it looks way better. I came up with this idea about 20 minutes before recording, so that's why it's just written on a piece of paper. Regardless, I really like UC Irvine in this game. They're the better team. Irvine, again, I don't care. They're on the road. They literally have to go take a 30-minute bus ride over to Loyola Marymount. I'm not concerned. Give me the Anteaters to win this game. They will cover the 1.5 points they're favored by. Give me UCI. Next up, we go on to our nightcap. We have got Washington State taking on Bradley, and we are going with the Washington State Huskies. Now, Washington State's a team that is in the West Coast Conference this season. That's very weird, I know, but couldn't get to the Mountain West, I guess, and the Pac-12 still being reformulated. So Washington State, Wazoo, is in the West Coast Conference this year. I think they do beat Bradley. Bradley won their first game against Southeast Missouri State, and I get it. Bradley wasn't a bad team last season. This was a team that made the NIT. They played in a very competitive conference last season as well, losing to Drake in the second round of their conference tournament. And Drake and Indiana State were two great teams last season out the Missouri Valley. The Missouri Valley is a very tough conference. I will, for the mid-majors, I will give them that. I think Wazoo's able to win this one. Wazoo put up 100 points in the last game. I get it, they gave up a lot of points, but they were able to outscore Portland State, but still, it was off a 23-point performance out of Cedric Coward, the senior out of Fresno by way of, again, Eastern Washington last season, put up 15 points a game last year for EWU. Never actually gone through the initials of Eastern Washington before and said it like that, but regardless, Washington State's able to score. This is a team, again, they put up 100 points in their first game against Portland State. And regardless of the fact that, yes, they gave up a lot of points in their own right, they shot the ball from beyond the arc at a 47% rate. 52% from the field. I like what Wazoo's able to do in this game. Again, they outscored Portland State 46-38 in the first half. Both teams scored 54 in the second half. Wazoo wins the basketball game. I think they're able to beat Bradley. I think they are. I don't think Bradley's going to be able to keep up with this high-tempo Wazoo offense. And I get it. Bradley scored 88 in their game against Southeastern Missouri State, but that's Southeastern Missouri State, and I understand. Again, Portland State, Southeastern Missouri State, who gives a damn, right? It is what it is. Christian Davis led their team in points last game. He's a senior out of Denver, 15 points last game against Bradley. I think Wazoo's the better team. I do think they are. Again, this is a late-night one over in Pullman. Bradley's coming in from Peoria, Illinois. Time difference, it's really going to be 10 o'clock when this game starts. For Bradley and Wazoo, again, accustomed to the time, it's 8 p.m. I like Wazoo here. And Bradley's, again, on their this is the start. Actually, this is their only road game on this trip. They go to Wazoo, and then they return back home to Illinois on Tuesday to play Texas San Antonio. Just feels like a weird scheduling game here for Bradley. Again, a one-game trip out to the Pacific Northwest, even though this is more on like the Idaho side of Washington, Pullman. Regardless, trust me, I don't know what the hell there is to do in Pullman, Washington other than party. But regardless, give me the Washington State Cougars. I like them in this game. Again, I like the high-tempo offense. I don't think Bradley's able to keep up. And again, this game is in Pullman. Long flight over for Bradley. Time difference. I like Washington State to win this basketball game. So give me the Washington State Cougars to win in the nightcap. And folks, thank y'all for watching this is day 4, I believe, of our daily college basketball predictions here on the channel. Again, we're going to be doing this every single day until March Madness with both this and the NBA. So make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.